chapter 6 about recruiting and labor markets. And the first question that I want to discuss is uh, can you explain about something about recruiting or the topic discussed? First is recruiting is a series of activities to find and attract job applicants with the necessary motivation, abilities, skills, and knowledge to cover the deficiencies identified in staffing and planning. And we will jump about the serious question now. What is recruiting to the three experts? According to Yoder, recruiting is a process to discover the source of manpower to meet the requirement of the staffing schedule and employ effective measures for attracting that manpower is adequate number to facilitate effective selection of an efficient working force. And according to Edwin Filippo, recruitment is the process of searching for prospective employees and stimulating them to apply for jobs in the organization. And from Plumbley, recruiting is a matching process and the capacities and inclinations of the candidates have to be matched against the demand and rewards inherent in a given job or career pattern. And the next question is recruitment important? Why? Recruitment is extremely important in HR management as it ensures that employees who wish to enter to the organizations are a perfect fit for the business, which is further displaying the professionalism of the entire organization at the very first moment a prospective employee wish to onboard. And I will explain about discussion about videos that already attached in the question. In the first video is talk about HR basis and the topic is recruitment. And the second video is about recruitment methods that we must know. And the third video is about recruitment for small company. And what do the speakers explain in the three videos? In the first video talks about the speakers explain about the definition of recruitment, then explain about three essential concepts of recruitment. That is employee brand, when the way your organization prospective applicant, candidate and employees perceive you as an employer. Recruitment process, the strategy that permits every aspect of talent management, such as assess, define, communicate, and evaluate. And recruitment method include three primary elements: first planning, second job posting, and third communication. The second video, the speakers explain the top three recruitment methods that are commonly used. There are IQ test is the most well validated concept. The IQ test is the best predictor to know about academic success, learning abilities, and how successful you are in work life. IQ tests have interesting part that can predict how quickly the candidates can learn a job and can predict how successful the candidates will be. The second method is unstructured employee interviews. When the HR using this method, they must have around 2 unstructured interviews in order to confident about the candidates. This method using by instinct rather than fair or equal comparison. Unstructured method more likely to the certain candidates will get biased by interviewer, and last method is structured employment interview, that is the candidates are assessed and scored based on the same question. This is more valid to predicting future successful. And the third video, the speakers explain about simple process that can be used for recruiting an employee no matter what type of or level of position they want that fill in the company. The first step is defining the role. Defining the role of the job and how it fits into the business and the company's future plan, while write a job description, clarify the purpose and responsibilities of a job, and also the job description template to help guide and remember their job. The next step is to build a profile of the ideal person to fill the role. There are There is a template and guidance available to help to undertake the selection and interview process in a systematic way. The next step is attracting applicants. The company needs to find a suitable candidate, so think about ways and advertisement chart to wide range and good quality applicants and to get the best response at the least cost. Way to advertise is that the team have to consider the adverb itself and effective job advice about the position and the business. This is particularly important for small business because the company name may not be particularly well known. Keep answers short and to the point and make sure it's not discriminatory and to avoid gender or culturally specific language. The next step is the recruiting process is selecting the right candidate. Throughout the selection criteria, it's a good idea to create a checklist. Use a checklist based on the essential or desirable skills and experience required. Use this to check if the candidates match of the job and person's specification. This may be discussed with the team to make sure there's no personal bias in the process of the selection and interview. When the team have the short list of suitable person, send them a letter inviting them to an interview. With the interview process, make sure to give every candidate the same opportunities to give the best presentation to demonstrate their suitability. When the team find the desirable candidate, what happened next? Tell them what can be expected to hear from the company when the decisions are already made. Notify the successful candidate about. Also remember to let the other candidates know that they would not finally having made the decision and selected the candidate. What can you get from watching the 3 video about? From the first video, I got more knowledge about HR basics, especially about recruitment. I know the definition of recruitment, 3 essential concepts of recruitment, the advantage of cost effectiveness from internal and external recruitment. From the video 2, I got knowledge about recruitment method that commonly used by HR managers. There are 3 methods of recruitment. First one is using IQ test, second is structured employee interviewer, and last is instructed employee interviewer. And from the third video, I got that there is a way to recruit an employee for a small business. It doesn't have to complicate it in hiring an employee. We just need to make sure that we really need what we really need in the company, and to make sure to have a wide advertisement so it can catch a lot of people. For the small business, we can use social media platform to pressing the budgets. And the next question is, read the HR headline on page 177. What is the HR headline about, and what is your opinion about the HR headline? What is passive job seeker? What can you learn from reading the HR headline? In the HR headline, it says passive recruiting can become effective recruiting with the help of information technology such as Facebook and LinkedIn. With the help of these 2 applications, the HR consultant can easily find out additional information about job applicants. In my opinion, of course, with the help of these 2 applicants, it will greatly help the work of the HR consultant because it can make work more efficient by simply opening the application. Information can be obtained. Passive job seekers are individuals who are currently employed and not actively looking for a new job, but who may be open to a good career opportunity if one came along. And what does recruiting require an employer to do? The requirement is given by the recruiting team to the employer is based on what company they join. Not all companies have the same recruitment for their employer. Even in the same company, the recruitment can also be different based on what division will the future employer will join. But there is a general requirement that recruiting as from the future employer, such as CV and interview. What do you know about training and recruiters and managers? Training on recruiting related activities, communication skills, and job specific details is common. Training recruiters may include the importance of employees engage in ethnic ethical behavior during recruiting efforts. One way to evaluate training effort in this area is through follow-up activities. For instance, to assess the ethical behavior when recruiting college graduates, some employers send follow-up surveys to interviewees asking about the effectiveness of the recruiters and the image the candidate have of the employers as a result of the recruiting contact. Mention and explain the labor market components. There is four labor market components. The first one is labor force population. The labor force population or labor force participation refers to the number of individuals who are available to work in a labor market. It considers all workers who are offering their skills and service for employment regardless of the industry they are in. The second is applicant population. The second component is the applicant population, which refers to the people who are applying for the particular job that suits their expertise and skills. Recruiters look first at the labor market and then look next for individuals who met the skills and qualifications set for a particular job. For example, the people working for IT, graphic design, and similar jobs belong to the same applicant population, which is targeted by recruiters looking for this type of professionals. The third is applicant pool. The third component is the applicant pool, which is the actual number of people who initially signified their interest in applying for a particular job by sending in their resume. It may very well be considered the first part of the selection process, where the recruitment department of a specific organization receives application and screens them to determine who advance to the next round of screening. The fourth is individual selected. The fourth component in the individual selected, which simply means the individual or individuals who've made it through the screening process and have been hired for the job. Of course, this is judged based on a number of factors, and the person is screened against a carefully determined set of qualifications. The next question is, what is the considered for determining applicant population? Managers know about what a particular position involves and what kind of skills an employee needs to do the job effectively. Some considerations such as what qualification will an employee need for the job, what skills are necessary, and what are physical skills requirements. Managers ask questions, observe workers, conduct surveys, and determine what exactly is required to do the job well. For example, consideration based on job description. It states the level of education, experience, and knowledge required for the position. These types of statements are important for several reasons, because it makes it easier to decide whether a particular candidate is really a good match for the job, and they provide documentation to show why one candidate might be chosen from one another. And the next question is, recruiting for smaller firms can be challenging. Why? There are some reasons why smaller firms are harder to recruit employers. The first is employer brand. If you are battling with big names such as Google, Facebook, being the most commonly mentioned, but it could be any big business near you, it can sometimes seem impossible to get your job known in the market. Even when you do, some small business fear that they are not a desirable place to work. Fear of not having the same perks or benefits, or they simply don't think they can communicate that they are a great place to work as the big companies who have deeper pockets for marketing and advertising. And the second one is lack of process. Small business don't hire as often, so they often won't have process in place for hiring, and it becomes a very ad hoc process. This time they use a certain method, next time they use another, and etc. etc. Process isn't a fun word as usually, but hiring without it makes it a lot harder. And the third is candidate experience, linked to lack of process. Not having a process you work by consistently has an impact on candidate too. One candidate will have a really great smooth experience, the next has to wait weeks to hear anything and gets a bad impression. That's a problem when the second of those candidates in the best one for your job and is probably no longer interested in your position or company. The next question is, what do you know about labor markets? Labor markets, also known as the job markets, refers to the supply of demand of labor, in which employees provide the supply and employers provide the demand. It is a major component of any economy and is intricately linked to markets for capital goods and service. And the next question is recruiting, presence, and image. Recruiting activities can be considered continuous or intensive. Ongoing recruitment offers the benefit of keeping employers in the recruitment market. Intensive recruitment can take the form of aggressive recruitment campaign, usually aimed at recruiting a certain number of employees in a short period of time. Such efforts can be the result of unpredictable change in external factors, but can also occur in the workforce planning system cannot predict needs or significant change in workforce requirements. Employees branding and image. The employment brand or image of an organization is the opinion that both employees and outsiders have about it. Organizations that are considered desirable employers can attract more qualified applicants than organizations that have a bad reputation. Companies can spend a lot of effort and money building the brand image of their products. Not only does company branding help create more new hires, but it also helps individuals make their own choice and as it influences whether an individual considers and applies for the company. Recruitment and employer branding should be considered part of the organization marketing efforts and linked to the overall image and reputation of the organization and its industry. The next question is professional employer organization and employee leasing. Specific type of outsourcing use professional employer organization and employees leasing. The employee leasing people is simple. An employer sign an agreement with the PEO after which the staff is hired by the leasing firm and leased back to the companies for a fee. In turn, the leasing firm writes the paychecks, pay tax, prepares and implements HR policies, and keep all the required records for the employer. But all this service come at cost to employers. Leasing companies often charge employees 4% and 6% of an employee's monthly salary. Therefore, while leasing can save benefits and employers money, it can also increase overall salary costs. PEO and hiring agencies are different type of entities. PEOs having their own workforce and have contract with their employers. However, recruiters can provide job seekers with a job search service, contact employers with applicants, and hire applicants. The next question is regular versus flexible staffing. Another strategic decision is how many staff to hire to meet the needs of the staff for a full-time or part-time employees. Which position you hire depends on whether they are looking for full-time staff or are looking for a more flexible approach, including temporary workers and dependent contractors. Flexible staffing employs non-traditional workers by using flexible workforce arrangement. Employers can avoid some of the costs of full-time benefits such as vacation allowance and pension plans. Flexible staffing involves the use of temporary workers and independent contractors, which can lead to recruitment in a variety of markets. The last question is, what is this chapter about? Have you read this chapter and why? What can you learn from this chapter? So this chapter about recruiting and labor markets. Yes, I already read this chapter because I want to get more knowledge about this course, and I think this chapter is very important in the future because it's mostly about recruiting. So in the future, if I become an HR department or maybe become a manager, I can apply this knowledge at this work life. I learned so much from this chapter, like about recruiting strategies, recruiting labor markets, recruiting decision, and many more that will be very important in the future. And that's all my answer for this meeting. Thank you so much.